AdYack. You're listening to AdYack. AdYack is the official podcast of the AAF Greater Lehigh Valley Ad Club. Our mission is to inspire creativity and enhance the professional development of the advertising and marketing communities where we live and work. I'm your host, Bill Childs, and I'll talk with artists, designers, writers, directors, photographers, along with those who work in a creative capacity. Our aim here is to serve as a creative resource to help you stay informed, entertained, and above all, inspired. But first, I want to thank ASR Media. We appreciate your support and collaboration. Welcome back to AdYack, the podcast where we explore the messy, magical, and wildly misunderstood world of creativity, with people bold enough to actually live it. Today I sit down with Abriella Milazzo. She's a yoga instructor, a holistic educator, an artist, and an author of 2 books whose work exists at the crossroads of movement, mindfulness, and imagination. Here's the thing about Abriella. She doesn't just practice creativity, she embodies it. The way she teaches, the way she writes, the way she simply walks through the world. It all comes from a place of wonder. For her, creativity isn't a switch, it's the foundation she's built her life on. In this conversation, we get into why creativity is so misunderstood, what it looks like to reclaim creativity as a raw human instinct, not just a polished professional skill. How Abriella keeps her creative flow alive when life is messy, uncertain, or lacking inspiration. And yes, we even detoured into Jonathan Livingston Seagull, that strange little 70s book that affected me in a completely unexpected way. At its heart, this episode is about remembering the creative pulse that lives inside every one of us. If you've ever thought creativity was something you lost, missed, or didn't have permission to claim, this one's for you. Because the truth is, creativity isn't something you find, it's something you finally decide to live. Here is my AdYack with Abriella Milazzo. So I think I was thinking about that first time we met. I think that was a very interesting interaction for me because we were at a book signing and
Mhm.
we had a book. You had a book there. I had a book there. You had your pet. It was called My Pet Bug. I was doing Child's Play, and I remember like you looked over at me, and I think you had my book in your hand, and you were flipping through it, and you were like kind of, and you had this like kind of like devilish grin on your face, almost like you were like, oh, I'm going to talk to you. Like I want to talk to you. I don't know you, but I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And we ended up having a conversation, and it was pretty effortless, and it had a nice flow
Mhm.
and it's centered around creativity, which I liked, and then obviously I found out, everything that you were kinda doing. So let's start there. What would you say is your relationship with creativity?
Creativity is one of my best friends. Sometimes we'll just kind of like in this conversation that you're saying when we met, right? Like it becomes effortless. And I just find that creativity in my life, before I knew what creativity was, I was already doing it, right? And then and it because it's natural and it's effortless. And then maybe sometimes you get lost along the way because life happens. And so it's like catching up with an old friend.
Mm,
You come back and then you just recognize the difference in the flow of how creativity feels versus not.
right, but it's also very misunderstood by a lot,
Mhm.
right? Like it's not like
Mhm.
it's a power we all have, we all possess, I agree.
Mhm.
Like, not all of us are using it. Not all of us are using it to the
No.
level that it can be used, right? And I
Mhm.
found in business and a lot of the businesses that I worked with and the managers that I worked with just didn't get it. They made no attempt to get it either, which is
Yeah.
really what bothered me. So how do you
Yeah.
with those people when you come upon them, in your travels? People who are just, like, shut down and just are like, "Nope, not having it."
Yeah. Well, I think like already like I teach yoga, right? So you know this, and for those that are listening, like I teach yoga and I've been doing yoga for a long time. So I bring that into this thread because I hear it with yoga, right? "Hey, would you like to try yoga?" "No, I can't." Right? And it's a
Mhm.
constant shutdown. "I'm not flexible enough. I can't do this. I can't do that." It's a instant, and you get to a point when you hear so many no's that you're like, "Okay, well, I can't convince you, but my door will always be open for you. Will always be open, right? But
Mhm.
it's not your time right now." And I think, like, when I meet those people that don't necessarily understand creativity in the really beautiful, full, overflowing sense that it is,
Right.
my goal is to just drop a little seed or, like enlighten something in our everyday that is just so absolutely incredibly mind blowing beautiful. Like, what is it? Like, take a deep breath in. Ah, and that alone can be the gift.
Sure. Sure. I my daughter, actually introduced me to yoga about 5 years ago, and it was hot yoga, so it was the kind where you get in a room where they heat it up to, like, 150,
Yeah.
perfect for guys like me, so I can kinda get more into the stretch. I can kind of,
Hmm.
I can get a lot right? And
Yeah.
after that first class, I was like, "Where was this all my life?" Like, I felt like almost wow, like, that was really cool. Like, I really enjoyed that.
Hmm.
And I couldn't do the, like you're talking about some of the intense poses, but like the instructor said, we're all on a different journey.
Yeah.
Some are
Yeah.
this
I
part of
actually don't even
that part of
teach
the
it
journey.
like that.
Yeah.
I don't even like to teach with
Mhm.
all of that. Like, that's one of the first things I often say in a class is like, yoga's not about twisting into a pretzel.
Right.
I know that so many of us have been taught that way, but it's really not. It's the presence and allowing, yoga is union and it's our oneness in the world, right? How can we find our oneness? And I feel like that oneness and creativity come hand in hand. They meet in the middle, right? You have to be present in the moment to recognize where the beauty is, right? There's this unfolding that's happening. And if you stopped, if you don't allow yourself to reach into it, the coming back to what you were kind of talking about a couple minutes ago is when it comes to creativity, I think so many people aren't utilizing it because their self talk is already saying you don't have it.
Mm.
And the self-talk is, "You are it. You are it," and it's about developing the relationship that you have with it, and I think another little part to that is also if your self-talk is already doubting you, the door's closed. Now, if the door cracks open and you take a step through and you're uncomfortable with the process
Right.
of being uncomfortable and not knowing and turning away,
Mhm.
uh, creativity's still waiting over there, but you have to get over there. So I think that's kind of where that difference is. You have to be brave. You have to be brave to be creative, and you have to be willing to open up to whatever unfolds.
Well, I think this is interesting. I think that, and again, I'm not a yogi, so you'll have to kind of fill me in on this, but I feel like both yoga and creativity are a source energy. It's a connection to a source,
Mhm.
r- right? Like
Absolutely.
yoga, you're kind of
Mhm.
pausing, right? You can talk probably more about that, obviously, than I can, but like even with creativity, it feels sometimes it's a tapping in. It's kind of like a
Absolutely.
allowing the creativity to show up. It's not, yes, it's,
Mhm.
but it's almost like creating the space to invite it in. And that's only something I kind of like really
Gosh, you just
understood.
gave me goosebumps.
That's
You
just
gave
only
me
something I
goosebumps with
recently
that.
understood. Like seriously, like this is not like this is new knowledge for me. I hadn't made those connections before. But
Mhm.
through this podcast and talking to people and the students and seeing the students in my classroom and what they go through with their creative and their
Yep.
creativity, this stuff is like it's like revealing itself to me now, But it's like I do remember
Yep.
in my when I worked at an agency, if I had to come up with a big idea and nothing was coming, I knew that I would
Yeah.
talked about this before. I would just set my room up. I would turn the lights off. I'd light a couple candles,
Mhm.
incense, and then I'd put my feet up on my desk. I don't know why that helped, but putting my my desk, maybe some like
Because now you're in charge.
maybe, I don't know, or just it's like a
You're
relax
ushering it
a
in.
yoga pose,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then I would just wait. I wouldn't be like, "Okay, where's the ideas? I got a deadline in 5 min" I would allow the creativity to show up to
Yeah.
me, and then I would just be the vessel to write it down. So anyway, I went longer than
Yep.
what I wanted to there, but right, I think they're both things that
Yeah,
allows us to connect back to the source, a source of energy.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, just to like, you gave me goosebumps with that because I think that is so dead on and from teacher to teacher, right?
Mhm.
What
Right.
you just said was like a mirror of my own experience of I've been teaching for years. I've taught, I teach lots of different groups of people, right? Maybe it's seniors, maybe it's children, maybe it's families, maybe it's in a classroom, maybe it's on a farm, all different places, on a mountain, like cat and that. Um, but recently I just started this school year in it's a preschool and it's Reggio Emilia, which is a philosophy-based school in Italy, right? So
Okay.
Reggio Emilia is a city and their schools they started something new, right?
Right.
Back, I believe it was at the end of World War II. Now, I wanted to share this because I've been teaching art or I would say creativity. I don't really necessarily teach art itself. I teach the art of creativity.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just about a month ago, I started this position in this preschool with this type of philosophy, which is child led.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm used to having 20 kids or so in my classroom, 1 to 3 years old. You can imagine little monkeys running around,
Right.
right? And you want to find order. They make messes, they spill things, they do all sorts of stuff. And it's just so profound and interesting because when I finally, the first day when they came in, the 1 year olds, I knew my job was to just stand back and let everything happen. And the thing that I set up, they weren't that fond of. I thought they would love it. It was painting with fruit, right? So I
Okay.
thought they would love that all over their hands and face. No,
Right.
they didn't want that. They wanted to be in the classroom. And all of a sudden, it was like 10 thing one, thing twos running around, taking beads, throwing them into jars, taking flower petals off the shelf and throwing them on the table. And it became this disaster. And the other teacher looked at me and she wanted to clean. I said, "Don't do it. Put your hands back. Let's just watch it unfold." And
Mhm.
so it reminded me exactly what you're saying is like that was such a profound moment for me and understanding that when we control too much, we stop the one thing that we're searching for, right? In the me letting go is the unfolding, you kicking up your legs, that's you relaxing
Mm.
and just saying, "All right,
Yeah.
here I am."
Ready. I'm ready. Ready to receive. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. The picture,
Mm.
if you would have seen that picture of my classroom, you'd be like, "I can't even believe it got that way." And I'm like,
Mm.
I would like to frame it because it's a perfect reminder in the beauty of letting go, how much you discover, even when the messes are happening. Just don't control so much. Let it
Why do
be.
you do that though? Why do you think I mean, obviously, I'm not asking you to answer for the entire human race, but why do we resist letting go so much? What do you think? What is that? Like, what it seems to be like it's prevalent. Like, it's a thing,
Yeah.
right? Where
Yeah,
does it come
I
from?
think
Because we don't get
I
any
think a lot
joy.
of it starts with childhood. I think a lot of it starts with childhood. I mean, even being in a classroom of preschoolers, right? These humans are learning how to speak and move their bodies and interact and have emotions,
Right.
right? And this is when it's all happening. This is when they're so free, and we all know this, right? You look at a 3-year-old, you're like, "Wow, look at them, so wild and free." And I think it starts there, like, in recognizing I recognize the importance of how I use my words and how I set up the stage for them to understand and learn right now, because if I'm going around saying, "No, no, 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 no," that may carry with them, and I think that's where a lot of it is, like, we have such a hard time letting go because of the ancestral traumas of having to be safe, right? Like a war is going on, or inflation is happening, or, we're having global climate crises where homes are being destroyed. And so our safety, our root chakra is always being shaken. And that's next to the creativity chakra, which
Mm,
is our sacral, right? And so I think a lot of it stems from there, and then we become creatures of habit, right? The older we get, the more people maybe rub us the wrong way, we get a little bit more closed off, and then it just becomes a layer of skin that you don't even realize you have because you've been wearing it for so long.
yep. Yeah. It's almost this is an oversimplification, but it's almost like we kids start out as these beautiful little geniuses, right? And then as they start to get
Mhm.
older, it's almost like they're kind of like beaten into conformity a little bit. Like in other words, like don't do that. Put
A
that
lot of it.
out green. Don't jump in the puddle. Get your feet.
Yeah.
All the stuff. Don't play in the snow. You're gonna get wet. Put your clothes up. Like all the stuff
Mhm.
that like we're told. And then you're right. I think
Yeah.
that over the years it just kind of wears on you, and then you kind of get back
Yeah.
you started out as this, like, beautiful, amazing genius. Now you're just back in the box. Then, of course, you have school.
Yeah.
It's like middle school does not, help bring the best.
Nurture creativity.
Doesn't nurture
Yeah.
creativity, and in fact, it starts to kind of,
Mhm.
like, educate it out of you, and then, then
Mhm.
with, like, what do maybe if you're lucky, by the time you get to college, you're ready to, like, let that back out again. I think the people that are
Yeah.
the ones that are that kind of stay in touch with their creativity all the way through those periods are the ones that can tap into it the most. You know what I mean? That are comfortable
I
e
think also support around them too.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Mhm.
like, I know personally, I've always been an artist, but just like you were saying, I felt like it wasn't respected for me to be an artist in my family. I needed to use my mind more. I ended up going to college and becoming a science major, and honestly, really, I was always so focused in school on like, okay, I'm going to take this extra language now so I don't have to do it later on, right? I'm going to take this AP class to try to get college credits instead of taking ceramics, which is what I really want. Because again, it was that control, right? Like, I want to try to control my future by doing this ahead of time. And then I miss out on all of the years that I could have been playing in between. And then all of a sudden you get this wake up call and you're like, whoa, I need more play.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
need more play.
Yeah.
And play is creativity, right? It's allowing, again, it comes back to the making the messes. When I watch the kids spill and do this, it's like, it makes me smile, really, it makes me smile because I'm like, "All right, what's gonna happen next?" You
Mhm.
know? And then you get comfortable in that, what happened next, and then that's when I think you start to dial in more, when you stop trying to have to know. It goes hand in hand with faith, I believe. It's hand in
Well,
hand. You have to just trust that you're okay, and it will
I think a lot
unfold.
of us get told when we're looking at the staircase, if our life is for as a metaphor for a staircase, I think our
Mhm.
family and everybody, they mean well, and they want us to know, how are you getting up those steps? And you're like,
Yeah.
you don't need to see every single step to get to the top. You
Yeah.
see the
And the
step
more people
in front of you.
ask you, you're confused.
Right. You just need to see the step that's in front of you. Take that.
Mhm.
And then from there, the next step, and then the next step. We get hung up on that we have to see the whole staircase. I'm gonna go to college,
Yeah.
out, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna have a house, I need to do like we get all like it's just yeah, it just all kind of we get all caked up. You know what I mean? Like mud,
Mhm.
just covered up and our we can't shine, you know?
Yeah.
Trying too
That's a great
hard.
way to put it, that is. It feels like that, you're right. It's
Yeah.
like, the shine's gone. The
Yeah.
mud is trapped in the shine, and you have to, like, crack it open, and cracking is not comfortable. It's
Mm,
not comfortable, but you can make it become comfortable if you know that each time you crack, you break something open and it's easier to shine.
well, some of those yoga poses aren't easy either.
No,
Right.
no. And I think that's where a lot of it is. Yoga has just always been part of me, and honestly, stretching has always been a part of me. I love stretching. I've always loved to stretch.
Yeah.
But later on, you know, I stepped onto a yoga mat just because I was drawn to it, but I was also going through a really traumatic time in my life. And I needed a container to unravel in. And, with yoga and those poses, a lot of what is missing that people from the outside or not experiencing it see, and I think makes them fear or shine or turn away from it, is that it doesn't happen in one day. It's a molding, it's a practice, and it gets messy, right? Society has really tried to instill it in us that messy is ugly and not beautiful.
Mm,
And again, it's in the mess, right? How do you make pasta homemade? Can you make pasta homemade without making a mess? You cook something in the kitchen, you make a mess. It's not that you're not going to clean, and the responsibility is cleaning it up.
mhm.
And I think that same thing with the yoga practice or in creativity. Again, it's a carving. If you only step in one time and you're like, oh, no, not for me, and you leave, you're not going to get better at it, right? But if you show up and you don't care in whatever form you're in and you just allow yourself to unravel and be for a little bit, something's going to come up. And then you keep showing up to that because you know that that's the gift. Being uncomfortable and being okay with being uncomfortable,
It right there.
it's the gift, right? It's bravery. That's bravery in action.
I had a student, the year just started, so we started, I had them do these personality boards in class where they just show me your personality. Just draw what you like.
Cool.
Just kind of an example that just kinda no structure, no, it's just like here's
Yeah.
a word. You can either do collage, you can print things out from the internet, just whatever you wanna do. And this one student comes up to me and says, "I need a new board." I said, "Why?" And she said, "This one's messy." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she turns it around, and it has this beautiful drawing of a fox on it, but she's using pastels, right? So there's little smudges here and there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Talking about, this is amazing. No, 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 you gotta finish this." And I could see it right there in that moment. She couldn't see how good it looked. It was only half
Mhm.
finished. I saw it already that this is somebody that has some talent. She was focused
Yeah.
on the smudges. I said, "You need to finish this. Take this back. If you once
Mhm.
you finish this, if you still feel like you need a new board, I'll give you a new board." So, what it made me realize is, like, it's not the end result, it's the process of getting to the end result,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because you don't know what the end is.
she finished it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and everybody that sees it compliments it. Like, everybody's like, "Ooh,
I
who is
love that.
that?" And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
getting this and internalizing this because she
Mhm.
wanted to just walk away from it. She was looking for the whole staircase. She wasn't looking at that first step, which was
Yep.
keep going.
Yep.
It's just funny because the things that we learn in school, I've learned, are a lot of it turns out to be like well-intentioned advice, but wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I've
Mhm.
one, like, we were not taught in school to be comfortable with failure. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to fail. Nobody wants to, like, make a
Mhm.
mistake, but yet
Yeah.
exactly what you need in order to succeed. Wish I woulda known that
Mhm.
years ago, right? I think I woulda been
Yeah.
a little bit
Well, but see,
earlier.
you wouldn't be the person, even though, because I have moments like that too, and we all do, but it's like, if we had known it earlier, then we don't get to carry on with the lessons that we've learned from it, right? It's like you saying that with the someone asked me recently, like, how do you know when it's finished? And I guess I never really thought about it in that sense because again, it's just something that you just do, right? You just
Right.
do. And so I did sit with it a little bit. When they asked me that, like I was like, okay, let me think about this for a moment. And I think the answer is you never know when it's going to be finished because it's a feeling. You look at it and all of a sudden you're like, okay, it's done. And that's where that relationship and the molding and the fun and the muses, right? It's like an orchestra that's playing. And you don't want to stop at 30 seconds. You don't want to, you want someone to have a solo in it, right? You want to add these elements to it. And so I think that's kind of that mirror effect with what you're saying school taught us was like, oh, hey, the way is over here. Well, no, 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 no. Everyone has their own way.
Mm.
And the only way that you're going to know it is if you tune in and you feel the difference in the process. And like you can go for, I had a friend growing up, we would make shirts when we go to a concert. Instead of buying band t-shirts, we would make shirts.
Okay.
And it was a very different experience for both of us because she always in the middle would make a smudge and be like, "Oh, now it's all messed up," and she wouldn't wanna finish it. She's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Well, keep going, like, smudge it a little bit more, add this or add that," right? And that's where the fun is, like, okay, you smudge it, but can you cover it up? Can you maybe that smudge is intent maybe the universe was gifting you with that smudge because in that smudge, all of a sudden you're like, wow, that smudge looks like a flower. Now I want to do a flower,
Mhm.
right? So you keep going with it and keep playing with it until you're satisfied with what it looks like in front of you.
So do you think, kind of like you chose your career or your career chose you? Do you think like it was like because I know a little bit of your origin story with, the
Yeah.
watching that Tom Waits, not Tom Waits, Alan Watts video,
Alan Watts.
the Alan Watts video,
Hmm.
which I love that story because I live for those moments when I hear people they see something, they see a performance, you hear
Hmm.
people that like saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and the next day started a band and are still like playing, and become,
Yeah.
so, like, that Alan Watts video, like, really did that to you, like, right? It kinda, like, really it connected. So, in other words, that
Yeah.
I feel like that was in there already, that was in there. He just was kinda, like,
Well,
wrestle
150%.
right? That just kinda,
Yeah.
like, gave you permission to let it out, is what I'm getting at.
Absolutely. I think it was I was born this way. Right? What is that, Lady Gaga? I was born this way. I know for a fact that I was because, I had a craft box from the earliest age I can possibly remember, and I would just make things, right? I grew up an only child, and I entertained myself by creating things and making things. I'm a 90s baby, right? That's also what we did in our free time. Uh, I definitely think that Alan Watts moment when I watched that video, if money were no object, I think that was that moment, kind of like I was saying earlier, is you always have it, you know it's there, but then you get so hardened and you forget. And so then school happened, right? And I was so focused on making it through school alive, right? Don't we all? We're
Yeah.
trying to make it through that. And I'm like, okay, well, then I can go to college. Then I can pack up everything I own and drive into all of these bigger dreams that I had. I knew I had to focus and get them done. And it was in that moment, that video, like you said, it was the invitation of like, "Hey, wait, is this how the reality has to be, or is there another way?"
Mhm.
And then writing came back into my life, right? It was something that writing was my first love,
Mm.
and it grounded me, and it was my friend. The notebooks, the smell of them are like, s you know?
I feel that way in bookstores. Just
Yeah,
into a bookstore,
absolutely.
knowing all that newsprint, man, all that knowledge. I get that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now what
Yeah, it's hard not to.
right. Your second book was, tell me about the second book that you wrote, because that one's about yoga, right? Or is it a am
Yeah.
I mi okay, tell me about the second book. First
Mhm.
book was My Pet Bug, right? Children's
Yes.
book, and then
Mhm.
you just published one now or recently that
Mhm.
about, yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, two completely different
Right.
books, right? Um, and the children's one was something that I had already written when I was in Montessori training, and it unfolded because I started to illustrate it, and I had this dream when I was really young that one day I would write a book. So I did My Pet Bug,
Right.
but something was still knocking and I needed to get something else out. And at the time, I was teaching, all these yoga classes, and I kept finding this common thread. And that was, it wasn't I didn't have the time to share the true wisdom of what yoga really is,
Mhm.
not the facade of, hey, here you are in your Lululemon pants on your yoga mat, sweating, doing stretches with a really serious face. Everyone's quiet. You know, it's it's a way of being. It's not just when you step on the mat. It's how you move through your life. And so that's really where it came. I kept recognizing this common thread in the stories that I wanted to share, but not having the space to do it. So Enjoy the Breeze it started as a 7-day challenge and it turned into a month. But for 1 month, I just talked about the 8 limbs of yoga, which is essentially what the book is about. It's a beginner's guide to yoga with the scope of the 8 limbs, which most people are not taught. We're just
Hmm.
in the Western world, it's emphasized that asana, which is the physical practice,
Right, right.
asana is yoga. So most people are like, "Oh, I can't do it." And it hurt my heart so much because I'm like, "Yes, you can do it. Yoga's so much more."
Yeah.
And so that's why it just poured out of me for a month of just writing about the 8 limbs, which is sensory deprivation and breath control and um like being able to tune inward and recognize what's happening here to dull the chaos that's happening outside.
I'll tell you what, there
So, and I wanted to do it in the easy way.
I'm seeing so much of a connection right now, and I didn't realize when we started talking, but the connection between
Mhm.
yoga and creativity, right? Is yoga
Mhm.
inward, creativity, if you really wanna tap into it, get back in touch with your inner child. You gotta look inward. There's some really,
Yeah,
interesting things. Constraints also brings out creativity, and in yoga,
absolutely.
there's some constraints that are happening there. There's a quieting of the mind, trying to
Mhm.
quiet down, being more intentional, you know, being still, right? In order to calm
Yep.
the noise. Boy, there's some really interesting, connection.
Mhm.
And
Now
the
you see why I scream yoga from the rooftops. Do more yoga.
I gotta get back to mine. I really yeah, I miss the stretching. Even though
Yeah.
like it just the fact that getting in the room and getting in some of those poses, like, I felt better when I was done. I always did. I always felt
Yeah.
the yoga session.
Absolutely. Well, and it's so much more than that too. It's like yoga can be you going and walking in nature and
Mhm.
without headphones in your ears or
Right.
not connected to your Bluetooth. You're out there and you hear the birds singing, you can feel the breeze on your cheeks. This is stuff that I kind of share in my book, right?
Mm.
It's come on this journey with me because you're already doing it. You just don't know you are yet. And I'm going to tell you right now that you are. And we're going to do it together each time you turn the page. We're going to breathe a little bit more. We're going to tune back in one breath at a time, one step at a time, right? We're not trying to get all, you don't have to, I'm not asking you to get up, as you would say, right?
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to get up to the top of the staircase. I'm just saying, trust me, I'll help you get to the next step, and we'll go from there. we'll have fun doing it.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's like
Yeah.
more fun that you have in your life. It's, like right before we talked, I went out to go swimming in the pool, right? I set a timer for 10 minutes. Of course, I accidentally didn't set the timer the correct time I thought, so it was 30 minutes, and I'm like, "Wow, this is taking a long time," and it was 15, right?
Mm,
Time flies by when you're having fun. 15 minutes go by, and I finally get out, and I'm like, "Wow." Now I share this because I was also working while I was swimming. "What do you mean? How are you working?" "Well,
mm,
I have a an aqua yoga class I'm going to teach on Saturday, so here I am in the pool practicing. How can I implement what I already know about yoga to share this with others? How can I tune into my breath? How can I tune into my body? How does my body feel when I'm floating in this water?" But
mhm.
I'm also having fun because I'm a mermaid and I love being in the water. So it's like, how can we have fun in our everyday life? How can we infuse more fun? Maybe it's when you're brushing your teeth, you put on your favorite song and you dance while you're brushing your teeth. And
Mm.
now, when you're done brushing your teeth, it doesn't feel like a regular boring day. You're all jazzed up and you're ready to take on the world.
So many of us, and I used to live this way. I used to kind of like, I would just, I don't know. I was miserable all the time. I would get up as you're describing. I'd be, brushing your teeth or like combing your hair or like driving to work. All those things were so mundane that they just, you kind of get into a rut, right? I talk about
Mhm.
this in Child's Play, where like if you can kinda get yourself out of that rut, like what you're just talking about, like, take a different way to work, get up
Mhm.
what's another yoga thing where they say, "Set your intention," right? Isn't that like
Yeah.
set your intention
Yeah.
set your intention for the day. What kinda day do you wanna have?
Yeah.
You should be thinking
Mhm.
about that before you get out of bed and before your feet hit the ground
Absolutely.
and the floor. It's like, "What
Yeah.
day do I wanna have?" And I hope you're not
Yeah.
waking up saying, I wanna do a crappy day today. I wanna really have a crappy day. I want everything to go wrong, and I wanna get really angry. I hope that's not how, like
Well, we do know if someone is saying that, that's how it's going to unfold. No
I
surprises.
know this now. Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
I feel like in school, I feel like there's a couple classes that are missing from the curriculum, okay?
A couple, only a
Yeah, I'm
couple.
just gonna stick with a couple. I think there should be a class on creativity to teach how to
Mhm.
get people back to it. I think mindfulness and yoga should be a class
Mhm.
because you wanna talk
Mhm.
about, like, you have so many mental health issues out there that could be kind of like maybe a little bit more controlled if they were kind of if we were all given the tools on how to process a lot of that stuff, a lot of
100%.
from a younger age, right? So from like
Yeah.
elementary school, teach it there. Um,
Oh, preschool. I
even
mean,
yeah,
I start with preschoolers. Preschoolers, they already get it.
yeah. And I feel like, even with creativity, like um it gets misunderstood. And it's why I think a lot of people resist it too, and maybe why they resist yoga is it's seen as frivolous. It's not seen as serious, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, you're going to yoga.
Yeah.
Mm, okay.
Yep.
What does that look like? You mean you just sitting around with everybody else, like you said in your yoga pants, pretending, with your arm, you're in your
Yeah.
again, at a
Yep.
presentation, it's not what it is. Actually,
Mhm.
I did yoga to the point where, like, it was like the sweat would collect in my ears. That's how much
Yep.
I never knew a human body could sweat that much, and
Mhm.
it was glorious. I came out of those sessions
Yep.
with my daughter, and we I was like a mess. Like, I looked like I went through
Yep.
a shower of sweat, and it was great. Walk outside,
Yeah.
oh, the pores are open. Boy, the air just like braces you up. Felt amazing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about. I gotta get back to it. I gotta really get
It's so funny because you just full circled this whole thing again. That mess, that sweat was worth it.
yeah,
It's worth it. And time again, it's always worth it. I always tell the individuals that show up in the class, wherever they are, right? When we show up that day, I say thank you. I know that the hardest part is walking through the doors,
100%.
but I hope deep down in your heart that every time you leave, it's always worth it. That's one thing. I do some wild things for a yoga class. I've woken up at 3:30 in the morning to wake up to go do a 5 o'clock yoga class. I've cut my vacation early so I could go and teach 2 yoga classes on the farm when the sun is rising. Why? Because I know it's always worth it. It's always worth it. I always feel better.
Yeah.
So I would rather do that hard work and maybe feel a little uncomfortable or a little tired, but that's okay because then I go and do that, and then I am so fueled, and I am like, "Wow, this is the best day. I got to see the
Yeah.
sunrise, I got to interact with people, got to hang out with some goats," whatever it may be, right? But
Mhm.
that's where it is. It's like it really is a mindset thing. Like you said, everyone is creative, and you just have to turn the self-talk into, "I am creative. What do I want to create?"
Well, and as you're talking, I'm reminding and I'm thinking or remembering and I'm thinking what stops a lot of people too from doing yoga, from being more creative is we get so conditioned to kind of like have to be good immediately. Like if
Yeah,
I can't go into a yoga
exactly.
studio and stand on my head with no arms and just stand on my head for like 5 minutes, why am I in here? Right? No,
Yep.
not the case at all.
No, because you're not doing any of the work. You're literally wanting the trophy before you even sweat or practice to try to win it, and then you get a lot of projections of like, "Oh, well, you're so lucky," or "Oh, like, you're lucky," or "You're just good at it," or "Just naturally," and it's like, well, no, it's the dedication to the practice.
Yep.
It's the showing up, just like a writer, that has been one of the biggest things, and I think that's where the lines in my own life is, and we've touched on, like, you and I have touched on this before, this book that I've been writing for about 10 years now, but it's really been in the making my whole life, and I've been dropping seeds for myself along the way through my writing. Now, if I gave up and I was like, "Oh, no, it's not really important," like, I wouldn't have been able to look back on those different seeds and see them. And
Yeah.
that's where I think the beauty is, that's where that messy process is. Sometimes there's highs, sometimes there's lows, but ultimately, if you keep your eye on the prize and the prize is happiness versus $50,000 or pride, that's not much, but like I know you know what I'm saying, right? Like the prize is, oh, I want my dream car, or is the prize is I want more ease in my life. What is the goal that you're focused on? What is the purpose? Is the purpose for your own needs or is it for the collective? And then you keep showing up for that because it doesn't feel like a drag. It feels empowering because it makes you feel more alive.
Well, we get happiness wrong too. Do you know why?
Mhm.
Because we put happiness what we were talking about, it's like, well, I'll be happy when, right? When I get the car,
Yeah.
when I get the house. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like
No.
that. You gotta be happy now with what you have.
Yeah.
Be grateful for
Yeah.
what you have now, and then more happiness will follow you. You'll attract it.
Yeah.
Again,
Do you see how yoga connects again?
yeah, mhm,
Why
yeah,
the presence is the present, right? It is because it's in those where you're able to pick up on the signs. You're able to see. It made me think when you were talking just a few minutes ago about driving in your car, right? Like you're like, oh, just driving from like point A to point B. What if in that drive, instead of your eyes being so heavy and you're stressed out about what you have to do later, your head is up and you see a hawk swoop down in front of you, right? And you saw it because you were awake, because your eyes were open and they saw, and maybe that swooping down was the sign that you needed to be reminded, hey, there's something else going on, or I needed that, right? You stop to sit on a bench. It's all of a sudden, as soon as you sit on the bench, the clouds pass the sun and the sun's rays hit your cheeks. And now you're just overcome with peace.
mhm.
And yeah, it's
Yeah, just
it's
living with more
really
intention, being more aware of your life,
each piece.
you in it, and how you even the smallest things you do can make a big difference, can have a huge impact, right?
Absolutely.
Another thing that I
Yeah,
learned too, very late in life is how little things make big impacts. Just being
absolutely.
kind to each other, just being nice to each other, holding doors for people, having nice manners, all stuff that I don't know,
Mhm.
somehow, I don't know, those things now seem like a big deal to people. You hold a door and people are like, "Oh my god, thank you so much." Like, I mean, right? They don't even know how
Sad. Yes.
they're so used to probably people just letting the door slam in their face because that
Absolutely, and, like, what kind of life is that to live? It's like we already get enough doors slammed in our face, right?
right,
It
why have another one? Sure.
Yeah, and it's actually really funny that you even mentioned that because yesterday I was going to the grocery store and I saw an officer park in the fire lane.
Okay.
Right? And I'm like, "Oh, really? I mean,
Mhm.
you're gonna break all the rules, do whatever you want, you know?" And so we go into the grocery store. I'm with my partner, and we go in the grocery store, and I'm like, "I am gonna find that police officer, and I have a question that I have to ask him." Okay? And so I'm like, "If I find him, I'm saying something." And I see from the corner of my eye, um, the most beautiful smile that I have ever seen. It struck me from, like, aisles away, right? And in that moment, immediately, I'm like, "Oh, I can't get mad at someone like that." I'm like, "I can't even." But I definitely went to go find them later on. I couldn't avoid it, right? I couldn't avoid it. I needed to go and find the officer and joke around, right? It's like, "Wow, really? Okay, sir. So you find that it's okay to park wherever you want, break the rules, you know?" And he's like, "Well," and he turned and looked at me and gave me the most pleasant and mindful answer. He's like, "Well, actually, I park there because if I could park there, you guys won't get in trouble. And someone who really needs it now has a close parking spot." And so I share this simply because you're saying with opening the door
Mhm.
and smiling, right? He was happy, I was happy,
Mhm.
and it all started really with a smile.
Right. Interesting. I thought you were gonna say something about taking, grocery carts back.
Oh,
I
no.
did a post
No.
on LinkedIn I did a post on LinkedIn about that, about how, if you really wanna see if someone's a good leader, you don't have to
Yeah.
interview 'em, just take them to a parking lot, see if they take their shopping cart back.
Oh,
Where they're
that's funny
tomorrow.
because I do that. I am one of those people, and I get outraged if I see a shopping cart right
Mhm.
next or right outside of it. I'm like, "Really?" That's interesting that you said that because I do feel like that is
That's all you would need to do. If
it's
you're
a
hiring a new leader, go, "Hey, do you have time to run a
yeah,
grocery store real quick?" Or somehow to just observe them in the because this
yeah,
definitely looks good on the resume, right? Let's see how you act
yeah,
in the parking lot on a Friday night when you just put, like, 14 bags of groceries in your car. Are you taking that shopping cart back? Are you caring about
yeah,
others that are gonna have to do that? Or is it just all about you?
mhm,
So to me, that's like the
yeah,
ultimate test of like leadership right there is just like and
yeah,
that's someone posted in the comments, they said, "Not only do I take mine back, but I go find other stray ones and take them back too." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's next level." And that's great. That's great, but like, yeah,
we need that in the world. We need it in the world, but the thing is, then that's where I think we also kind of come into this divide, is you have so many people that are the leaders or want to do that. Then you get tired of the weight that you're carrying for ones that don't want to even carry their own. Right? Like, what is
right,
those extra 2 steps that you have to take, right? And I think that's where we kind of always come into this friction because you have some people that are just like, "I really wanna help. I wanna help heal the planet. I wanna help heal myself. I wanna help heal other people." And then you have some that are just working on healing themselves and they don't know how. And that's where kind of these tools that you talk about, the tools are important in understanding our awareness and recognizing, are we just helping ourselves or is every action that we're taking, right? Someone who throws something out the window, they're not thinking about, hey, that one piece of trash is probably not the only trash that you've thrown, right? How much collective trash have you thrown? What if all of the people in the world were like, you know what, it's just one piece of trash? How much does that accumulate?
Sure.
So it kind of comes into this awareness and mindfulness. Like everything that we do is a work of art. And do you want your art to be garbage? Do you want it to be left for someone else to pick up? Or do you want to be the creator holding the paintbrush and saying, you know what? I'm going to skip over to the trash can and throw it away, or I'm going to sing and I'm going to make it beautiful in the process. And the
Mhm.
more you put beauty in the process,
Right, right. I got a
the
question.
more unfolds.
Like, what would you say what advice would you give to a young person, let's say, who might be struggling with their creativity, who maybe have parents that are like, "You're gonna be an engineer. You can't make money as a creative person," all that kinda stuff. Like, what kind of advice would you give that person, do you think? It's a tough question, so you have to think about it a little bit, I'll understand.
I think the best thing that I would be able to kind of share with someone who is in that coming of age and trying to really find it and harness it is to find a place wherever it is where you know that you can be alone without interruptions, right? I'm not saying locking yourself in a room. Maybe it's at a bookstore where you know
Right.
your family isn't going to barge in, or somewhere, or maybe it's out by a park under a tree, right? Find a space that makes you feel safe where you can just be. And then get out a notebook and just write things that make you happy. Right? And then you hold on to that and you keep it sacred. You don't have to go tell the whole world what your interests are or what you love, right? Just to keep it close to you. And if someone does find out about it, that's okay. Don't let it bother you, right? That's your sacredness. That's your sacred space. These are your sacred dreams. And it's just so important to let just like seeds on a plant are very vulnerable. When those seeds first happen, they're vulnerable, so it's your responsibility to keep them safe. And then as you grow, you have to keep watering it, right? You can't just put them there and then, don't believe in them. You have to water them and watch them grow. And by the time you watch them grow, you understand that it's not just something that you like, it's something that you're made to do. I know that was a very long advice to give to someone who's younger, but um yeah, it's find a sacred space.
Mm,
Write down your sacred dreams and keep them safe until you're confident
yeah.
to let them share.
Well, I think there's an energy that happens when you kind of write something down. It becomes real.
Mhm.
It's on
Mhm.
it's it's written from your head to your heart to your hand. There's a mechanics that happen there, and it becomes
Yeah.
that's the seed, right? You've just planted that seed.
Yeah.
Where if it just stays in your head, it's not real. It's not real until it you
Yeah.
realize it or it comes out on paper or on
Yeah, and it can't come from someone else either. That's
right.
why you have to find your sacred space,
Yeah.
right? Where there's no interruptions, there isn't anyone telling you right or wrong. You have to just say like, what do I really want? And then when it comes onto the paper, like you said, that manifest, believe that that's meant for you because you wrote it down.
Yeah.
You asked yourself, what do I love? What do I want to do? What is my purpose? And however you ask the question, but then you have to
Question
honor what the body answers.
the question that I love, which is the question that you if you wanna figure out what you should do with your life, ask yourself this: "What would you do if failure was not an option?" In other words, whatever you say you're gonna do, you would not fail at. Whatever that answer is, that's what you should be doing, because that's what
Yeah.
stops both of us is the fear of failure, right? So if
Yeah.
you were
Or in my case, Alan Watts, if
yeah,
money were no object, what
mhm,
would you do if money were no object? Don't be afraid about not making enough money because you could make all the money in the world and not be happy. But if you're doing something that you love every day, then living on planet Earth is really fun.
It di Wow, there it is right there. That I wish that, like, everybody could understand that lesson right there. That's it. That's the lesson.
That's it.
Yeah,
Because it is the lesson, because when you do that and you follow that, you will be protected. You'll be helped along the way. Right? It's like
yeah,
we don't have to get, like you were saying, you don't have to get the things first and to believe. That's where faith comes in.
right,
Is
right.
like you have to believe that if you're following your path or what you feel that you're meant to do,
Yep.
you are going to be supported along the way. Is it always going to be easy? Absolutely not. But if it was easy, then it wouldn't be as fun because then everyone would be doing it.
Mhm. Well,
Right? It's the carving that you have to like show your dedication to the practice and the belief of like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And then you have to keep showing up to do that.
yeah,
I feel like it all grows, right? The seed gets bigger, you get
yep,
more confident, and the magic becomes more profound.
yeah. I had an interesting thing happen recently. I'm not sure. I'm still kind of processing what this all means and why it happened. But I was up in Maine, in at the end of August, and for some reason, I remember while I was up there, I remember reading this book in 5th grade. My teacher, Mr. Novak, gave, the class this book to read.
Mhm.
Maybe because I was, like, surrounded by lighthouses or something, and I started thinking about seagulls. That's probably what happened. So this book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, came into my head, right? I was like, "Oh, I remember reading that in 5th grade." Had no idea what the story was about, retained none of it, right? Just knew that he gave the book to the class. I remember the blue cover, the white dove on the front, or the seagull, sorry, and, yeah, we had to read it. So, I Googled, "What is Jonathan Livingston Seagull about?" Right?
Mhm.
I read it, I was like, "Oh my god." Basically, it's about a seagull that doesn't wanna be a normal seagull. He wants to learn how to fly faster. He wants to learn how to fly higher. He wants to learn, like, what more can we do? What more are we
I
capable?
love this.
This is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like all the other seagulls are like they fly over the fishing boats waiting to get their fish scraps, and he can see that happening, but he's like, "No, no, no. I wanna know how fast can I go what's the top speed of a seagull?" Like, and so
Yeah.
he spends all of his days flying high. He wants to try to teach the
Mhm.
flock, "We can do more. We can be about more." And they're like, "No, man.
Mhm.
Ooh, and we just wanna eat this fish and, like, kinda walk the beach and bother tourists, right?"
Ew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have no interest in this, and then they banish them. They
Yeah.
banished them from the flock, and I just was like, now I don't want this to sound, like, arrogant, but I was like, "Oh my god, I'm that bird. I was that bird."
Yeah.
I've never
You
been
could.
happy with normal or happy with mediocrity. I
No.
just wanted to, like, test the boundaries. That's probably why I broke
'Cause it's not
doing
creative.
it.
It's not creative, that's why.
No.
Because creativity is the birth of something new, right? It's
Yeah.
if you don't have a desire to bring newness to the world, you know,
What are you doing?
and there's really yeah, I mean,
What are you
and like,
doing?
it's not a like a right or wrong, but it's also like you're missing out on a lot.
Yeah.
Because the newness, especially if the newness is coming from you, it's like you get to envision the dream. Like what would light you up if it arrived and then set out to do it.
And that's where I think, trying new experiences come in that will feed your creativity. If
Mhm.
you try things that you never tried before, you're opening up
Yeah.
areas of your brain, opening up your, things in your body that, you haven't tried before. That's fertilizer for creativity. It puts
Yeah.
you in mode of like, you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that, but that sounds like fun. Let's do it. Paddle boarding, or when you
Yeah.
on the paddle board and you try to like balance, like most
Mhm.
people be like, "Oh, I'm gonna fall off of that. I don't want to get hurt. I'm gonna fall." Don't try,
Yeah.
you know? And
Absolutely.
what happens is we condition ourselves to just think the worst instead of like all the we think of
Mhm.
all the reasons why it could go wrong. How about thinking of one reason why it might go right?
Absolutely. Well, it makes me think of you're saying with the tasting new things, and the first thing that comes to mind is moving across country, right? Like that was a big. I mean, I've done it 3 times now, but the first time I did it, I was 24 years old. The only road trip I ever took was from, like, Florida up to Pennsylvania on, like, a weekend trip with a whole group of people for college, and then a little bit of time with my grandparents from New York to Pennsylvania. Other than that, I'd never done any road trips, and then here I am, like, packing up everything I own and driving across the country. Living in Florida, most of the country is different than Florida, right? So I'm, like,
Yeah, a
going
little
into
bit.
caves for the first time, I'm seeing the leaf actually falling in transition. And like there was just, you're encountering different people. Oh, the stretch in Texas where there's no street lights and hardly gas stations. Like in Florida, where I am, so much of that is there. So I stepped into the unknown simply because I have been watering this one particular seed for 20 years or close to. And and it becomes a matter of I either do it, not to sound intense, but I either do it or I die doing it, right? Like if I'm in it, I gotta be in it. And if I'm uncomfortable, then what happens, right? Do I wither or do I keep going? I went into a complete different environment multiple times, and every single day of my life, I was doing something that I'd never done before. And it was out of survival in a sense, but then that survival, you kind of snap out of it because you realize, wow, I've survived so much, I become more resilient.
Sure, sure. Right, right. I was just having a conversation with a student today. We were talking about trees, and I said, do you know why trees get stronger during hurricanes?"
They deal with all the winds and
Yeah,
stuff. They deal with the
yeah,
winds and the storms.
yeah. Not when they're standing still. When they're standing still, nothing's happening. But when those storms happen and they're grabbing into the
Mhm.
ground to try to that's how they actually get stronger. And they were
Mhm.
kind of surprised to learn that. And that's to your point.
Yeah, that's so interesting that and you saying it in that way too, because if you even think of like the shapes, I love trees and like I look at trees and I admire them so much. Like you want to hug them, right?
Sure.
Like you're so beautiful. I love you.
Mhm.
And but when you see a tree, like you're saying, even with the storms, not only does it grow stronger, but personally, I think it grows more beautiful because it looks like a dancer. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
like moves in different ways where you're just like you can see they look like they're dancing.
Yeah.
And then it comes into like, can life just be a dance? You know? Can it just be a dance and we just learn one step at a time? And if we fall, like, okay, we're just gonna get up and do it again, right? That's the song, Life's a Dance, you learn as you go.
I
Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow.
I think that's a perfect place to end. I don't want to wreck that with adding more onto that. That's perfect. That's awesome. Gabby, I
Mhm.
really appreciate you doing this. This was a great conversation. I knew it would be. A lot of stuff in there. A lot of stuff.
No.
I think I definitely admire your adventurousness. Like, what's that word? I don't know what that word. Adventureness. I guess that's the word.
It's
Um,
adventurous. I
yeah,
think
just your
adventurous.
willingness to just throw yourself into situations and say, "I'll figure it out." Like
Mhm.
I'm not sure I'm not sure I'm at that level. I may wanna be at that level, but, and I aspire to be at that level, but you're at that level, and I admire and respect that because I think
I appreciate that.
that's a cool way to live, and I know that
It's fun.
yeah, you're surviving and you're having fun,
Mhm.
happy. I know that, so you gotta be doing something,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Alright,
Yes.
be well, keep doing your thing, and, stay curious, alright?
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, AdYackers. Hope you enjoyed it. Because we have many more great conversations planned and guests lined up ready to yak it up. AdYack is sponsored and produced by ASR Media. Theme song was written and performed by Dan Ross. AdYack is the official podcast of the AAF Greater Lehigh Valley Ad Club. Stay hungry, stay humble. Till next time.
This episode of AdYack is rated O for, oh man, that was good.